So we're going to be looking at the evaluation stage of the 5E lesson plan. During this stage, the students have the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge that they have gained and mastered throughout the course of this lesson. Rather than give them a quiz, I decided to give them the opportunity to create a product and demonstrate their knowledge by evaluating their product compared to other people's products. I set the stage for my students by providing them a specific prompt. I gave them guidelines to help them choose which company would be the best deal for them.
Yeah, I think those guidelines were a really good scaffold to help them progress through this part of the lesson.
So those companies have actually decided to let you choose your deal, like not just from the ones that we've made, not just from the 3 that are here. We actually are going to let you make your own deal. The only thing is there's a little bit of a catch, just like always, there's a little bit of a catch. You have some guidelines you got to follow.
I visit with each group of students so that I can actually evaluate their ideas. I had a couple students say, well, we'll just estimate it and sketch our graph on there. But I'm trying to hold them to a high standard so they have the opportunity to demonstrate they understand what we've learned today. So I encourage them to use their calculators, to use their tables, to work together to generate a precise graph on their poster.
All right, so what did y'all try?
It's y.
Y equals 5x plus 100.
5x plus 100.
So by the time we get 6 months, it'll be $130.
Okay, so can y'all write it out here and then make a table so she can plot some points? And I'll give you a black marker to actually plot them on there.
Probably just like.
No, don't estimate it. Plot some points. Use your table. Your calculator can build a table, right?
No, we tried that.
Yeah,
it didn't show us anything.
Didn't show up.
Table.
Oh, yeah.
So, Fernando, what did you think? That one?
Yeah.
The 2x plus 100?
Yeah.
All right, so what is that going to look like on our graph?
Starts at 100 and keeps going up by 2.
Okay, so then why don't you plot those points on there?
One of the main objectives of my lesson was to ensure that my students would be able to look at a graph, look at an equation, and analyze the data at a high level. I needed them to understand what slope was and how that affects costs, or how it affects a graph, how it affects change over time. And the evaluate allowed me that opportunity for them to make a decision, choose one, back up their decision using the vocabulary that we got, and they got to demonstrate that they understood what our goal for the lesson was.
40 seconds, and I need you guys to be back at your desks. Oh, I need that function rule, guys, the function rule. Make sure you write your equation somewhere on that poster.
Oh, I got you.
The poster needs to be, it's got to have that function rule.
Even though this is the evaluation portion of the lesson, I continue to serve as a facilitator for my students. I still need to help them answer their own questions by giving them more questions and going back and forth with that. I hope, or I view every opportunity, every discussion I have with my students, every discussion they have with each other as an opportunity to learn. To conclude the lesson, I had the students assess all of the graphs that were generated, the 3 from before and the 3 new ones that they created, and I asked them to figure out which one was going to be the best deal. They let me know in a quick sentence on their own sticky note with their name and pasted it up by the plan that they thought was best.
And I want you to walk around. I'm going to move this poster that way, and you're going to be able to see all 3 graphs right next to each other. You are going to put your sticky note right where on the graph that you think has the best deal. Which would be the one that you choose? Is it the one that your group made? Maybe another group came up with something better, right? You want to get the best deal. Doesn't matter who made it. You want to figure out the best deal. But there's a catch again. Remember I said this is instead of us taking a quiz, right? I still need to hear from you. And the way that I hear from you is you write one sentence on this little sticky note telling me why that graph is the best deal. Tell me why.
So your evaluation seemed really interactive and authentic. I love that you were able to get data on each student at the end of class. I also use class presentations to evaluate my students from time to time. I really love that this becomes not just an assessment of learning, but an assessment that serves a learning purpose as well. I also try and have each student have a role in the presentation so they're accountable for their knowledge as well. Okay, so what you're going to do in a second is you are going to present your station, what you observed and what you learned to the rest of the class, okay? And to do that, you've got 4 components that you're going to stand up and talk about. Each person, each role has a role in that presentation, okay? So for example, The activity director is going to give an overview of the demo, what you noticed. Okay? So you all need to talk about and fill out those parts together, but you also need to make sure that you individually know what you're responsible for presenting. So I decided to give my students specific prompts for what they were going to discuss about their experiment, and this was just to encourage them to cover all the relevant information, as well as make the appropriate connections to the other stages of the lesson that we saw that day. Okay, so while we're doing these presentations, let's be listening. Okay, we're doing a good job listening. They're going to present to you in their order of their roles. You can ask them questions about what they saw, all that good stuff. So get to where you can see, because I know there's a giant fish tank right here.
Okay, so for ours, we tested out the surface tension of ethanol and water, and the surface tension, is how the water molecules connect to each other or attract. And so we put drops on the leaves of both, and then we put them on our skin. And the water droplets would drop up, but the ethanol would just spread out because it has a weaker surface tension than the water. Materials.
This connects to the water molecule kit because it shows that water has better, sticks together better than ethanol does, and has more of a charge. So that connects because some of the molecule kits was able to stick to others more than the ethanol one was.
So the prompts also help them make connections to their everyday lives. So for example, the belly flop incident was something from the outside of the classroom that they could bring in and use to talk about the content.
Our question was, do belly flops hurt because of the surface tension?
So what do you guys think? Are belly flops painful because of surface tension? All right, so Lacey, can you maybe kind of explain that, why you think that's true?
Why do I think that?
So why do belly flops hurt? Like, just kind of summarize.
You're breaking the surface tension of the water molecules. So something that's made to connect together, you're forcing apart, so it's going to hurt.
Awesome. So do you ladies think if you were to belly flop into like a pool of that ethanol, it would hurt as badly?
No.
Why not?
Because it doesn't have
The bonds that the hydrogen bonds.
I never want to do that.
Okay. All right, so it doesn't have those strong hydrogen bonds as much as the other ones. So as they're presenting, I'm evaluating the students on their content knowledge. I'm trying to see what misconceptions they may have and if there's any gaps that we may need to fill as a class.
So it's a overview of the general demonstration. What we did was kind of like adhesion and cohesion with the ethanol and the water. So water holds to the penny significantly better than the ethanol.
I really love using inquiry-based teaching because it really gives students the freedom and opportunity to try out their own questions and ideas. You see in this clip students doing their own experiments on the side that I didn't necessarily assign them, and I love that they have that freedom and creativity to do that.
The ethane and the water don't connect. We kind of did our own little experiment next to the pennies, and we put water on the table, and then we put drops of ethane in it, and where the ethane dropped on the water spread out because the ethane wanted to be by itself, like Isaac said.
Because each stage of the 5E lesson cycle has students sharing their ideas, you're able to really assess and evaluate them during each stage of that cycle.
I agree. I love seeing my kids' knowledge grow throughout the lesson and having that opportunity to evaluate that at every stage throughout the lesson.
One of the things I really love about inquiry is all of the surprises that can come up during a lesson. Because students really are at the core and the focus of it, and it's all about their curiosity and their ideas, you really do get some interesting moments that happen in your class.
Like the discussion of a belly flop.
Yeah, exactly.